ॐ वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ जयन्ती मङ्गलकाली भद्रकाली कपालिनी दुर्गा क्षमा शिवदात्री स्वाहा स्वादा नमोस्तुते। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sai Ram Lin, Sai Ram from Malaysia, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram Sharma, Sai Ram from New Thailand. Welcome to our listeners, wherever you may be. We are grateful that you give us a little of your time to share, for us to share stories of our beloved Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Tonight's topic is, in Swami's own words, which I heard him speak during one unforgettable interview. He spoke to a man in the interview room and he said, "You are seeing that woman who is not your wife." This was an extraordinary and unexpected turn of events in the interview room. Swami had seated Mata Betty, our group leader, as he always did. He arranged for a chair for her to sit, as she by now had hip problems and knee problems and could not sit on the hard marble floor. Once he seated Mata Betty, he made pink vibhuti for all of us ladies. It was a pale, dusty color, almost tasting a little bit like rose, so delicious. And then he said to Mata Betty, "How are you, sir?" Of course, he always called her sir because she had been with him as a male saint in her incarnation with Shirdi Baba. And Swami was very clear about this. And she said, "Oh, Swami, my hip, my knees, my neck, my head." He said, "Nuts and bolts, old age." And that was the end of that. Then he turned to a man, and as I said, in interviews, Swami always picked out the person who was what we call emergency ego case. He would deal to that person first of all. And he said to this man who was sitting very quietly, we didn't know this man. He had joined, we did not know of him back in New Zealand, that he had been a member of any Sai organization. He had simply contacted Mata Betty. He had heard of Swami. He had read some books. And she accepted his request to come along. And so we didn't really know much about him, whereas most of us else in the group, we all knew each other. We had met in centers. We went to bhajans together, but we had never seen this gentleman. Anyway, Swami said to him, "How are you, sir?" And he said, "Oh, very, very good, Swami, very happy." And Swami said, No, you are seeing that woman who is not your wife. I can tell you that man's rosy complexion drained out of his face and he turned as white marble. He was shocked and we were shocked. How did Swami know? Well, of course, back then we didn't realize Swami's omniscience, how he knows everything, every tiny detail about a person's life, not just this lifetime, but every single lifetime we have had before. And Swami did not elucidate any further. He then turned to another couple and he said, "Marriage, many misunderstandings." Again, this couple was shocked. How did Swami know? They were the epitome of a devoted couple to everyone else who was in the room. Now, Swami has said about a married lady that she has many great titles, like Dharma Patni, meaning righteous wife, Griha Lakshmi, goddess of the house, Ilalu, lady of the house, and Ardhangi, equal partner of the husband. And he said, these titles have more value than socially recognized titles, such as Padma Vibhushan, which is a title given by the government. So he is saying that to see someone who you are not married to, and that is to be having some kind of relationship with them, is not okay. And I can tell you this man was so crushed that he ran out of the interview room and we never saw him again. Swami is very clear that a mutual relationship must be based on trust and faith. That goes for the husband as well as the wife. If you're going to get married, it really should be for life. Now, we are living in an age, the Kali Yuga, when this is not the case. Divorce is quite accepted worldwide. Separation, even living together without being married, it has become completely socially acceptable. And I am not saying here what is right and what is wrong, not at all. It is simply an attribute of this Kali Yuga. Indeed, Swami said that after Lord Krishna died or passed out of this world, Radha saw men and women putting their arms around each other in the street, and that's how she knew that the next age, the Treta Yuga, I think it was, or the Dwarpa, had begun, because a kind of looseness had begun with relationships. Of course, in the days of Lord Rama, in the Golden Age, people married and stayed married. There was no such thing as unfaithfulness or treachery in a relationship. Nowadays, if you are not married, of course, and live together or have a relationship, there has to be faith and trust. Swami has said the man must ensure that the wife remains happy. There should never be tears in her eyes. Marriage is a mutual bond to which the wife, too, must fully dedicate herself to the happiness of her husband. The husband must take his wife into confidence in all financial matters, income and expenditure. And he said, nowadays, men do not even share information with their wives. In fact, they give money to other women to make them happy. Men, I am not just criticizing you, I am also referring, women also are unfaithful to their husbands. And what does this result in? Heartbreak, heartache. One man told me that when his wife left him, his heart felt so much pain, it was like a dish breaking. It was like a plate being broken in two, and he could not mend it again. And so, what is at the root of all this? Desire, dissatisfaction with what you've got. Indeed, many misunderstandings. Now, what can that mean in a marriage or a relationship? It means that the person is trying to adjust to the other person's behavior and try to understand them later. Swami says this is the other way around. And in fact, he told our New Zealand group, New Zealand Sai organization, many misunderstandings, no unity. He wasn't talking about our group, he was talking about one of the organizations. And we knew what he was talking about, but we never said a word because Mata Betty said never, join in with Swami unless he asks you a question. Don't start throwing your opinions around in the interview room, because what do you know? And if we start criticizing couples who are having marriage problems, what do we know? We don't know who they were in the past life. They may have some unfinished business, some unfinished debt, some karma that has to be worked out. They are there together for whatever period of time, as Swami said, to grind down their egos. So when a couple is fighting or disagreeing and having different opinions on a matter, they are like sandpaper rubbing up against each other. And what happens with sandpaper? It is grinding, grinding, grinding. And of course, this doesn't always work out. Nowadays, it's much easier to get a divorce or to separate. Or if a child comes along, the man does not want to have the responsibility of being the father, or even the mother may not want to have the responsibility of being a mother. And we get something, another additional heartbreak, that is the heartbreak suffered by the child. In the bigger picture, We know that only Swami knows what our past was, who are we destined to be married to or have relationships with. Indeed, one young man told me that during darshan, he was called up by Swami for interview, and Swami pointed to the crowd and said, "Your wife is over there." Well, the guy was so excited, he thought, wow, I'm going to meet my wife to be here in the ashram. But that was not to be. Why is that? Because Swami was pointing towards England. And within a certain period of time, the young man met a beautiful Indian lady, and they were married, and she was from England. They live here in New Zealand now. I hope you have given this talk some deep thought. It certainly made me think twice, because I myself have been through one divorce, happily married to my second husband. It has been a marriage devoted to Bhagwan and his service. That was the big difference. My first marriage was full of heartache and heartbreak because my first husband was not faithful to me. However, that is all in the past, and I learned the hard way that my only dearest friend is God. I have had to rethink a lot of my ideas about social custom and habit. I will never criticize a couple who are having difficulties. I only have the deepest compassion for them and pray to Swami, help them, Swami, help them, help them. This is the best prayer that we can give. It is the one Mata Betty taught me to say when I see people having great difficulties in their relationship. Help them, Swami, help them. Om Shri Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram. तस्मात् कारुण्य भावेन रक्ष रक्ष साईश्वर. हरि ओम तत्सत् श्री साईश्वर अर्पणमस्तु. ओम शांति शांति शांति.